Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the moral decay we see happening right before our eyes. It is off the chain and it seems like it's unstoppable because the world has embraced promiscuity and all types of deviant sexual behavior. It's just being promoted through every type of media, through your music, television, movies, through public schools, through the educational system, even through the church. You see, promiscuity is being promoted. And I mention the church because you have even those like Dietrich Hatton, who's supposed to be a gospel singer and a pastor, who are just really pushing the promotion of sex and promiscuity. Not necessarily saying that he's promoting promiscuity, but there's this huge push for sex in every arena, like I named: movies, music, commercials, just everything, even your advertisements and books. And so the reason why I'm talking about this is because one of the main targets right now are the children, because the older generations have already been dumbed down to the tactics being used. As a matter of fact, the older generations, even back in the 50s and 60s, you can see a lot of evidence of people just giving in to sexual desires that were not normal, okay? And just taking all risk and not having any type of standards. All of that stuff was just washing down the drain a long time ago. And so right now we just see a crash boom of it in society. So I wanted to bring your attention to a couple of different things in this video. One, the push for children and transgenderism and cross-dressing and all kinds of things. Those topics are so very difficult to even discuss because it's a protected lifestyle now. Transgenderism is a protected lifestyle, more so than the civil rights of so-called black people. I mean, you can barely say anything without someone's feelings being hurt and you being in some type of trouble because this lifestyle is being pushed and promoted and literally shoved down everyone's throats. It's gotten to the point where even if you call a man man and he wants to be called she or her or ma'am. We saw the outburst of the man who actually got terribly offended and went on a rampage inside of a store because someone called him sir. Okay. And so now this push for transgenderism among children being the target now, again, you have adults applauding this, supporting this, promoting this. And so now what we see is a rise in children who are leaping out of what they call the closet and embracing a lifestyle that is alternative. They're embracing this because they have adult people who are cheering them on and even helping to promote and push this and encourage this. I did a story some time ago where there was a mother who wanted her 6-year-old son. I believe he was 6 years old. He was a very young boy. His mom wanted him to dress in girls' clothes, and he did it whenever he was at her house to please her. But he had told his dad that this is not something he desired to do. He wanted to dress like a little boy. But the mom, with her desires, she wanted to see her son dressing like a girl, and even attempted to get the father in trouble for dressing him as a little boy. And so these things have just gone over the top. They are over the top, and there is no stopping it at this point. It's going to take divine intervention because, again, these are protected lifestyles. They've made it a civil rights issue, whereas the fight for the civil rights for black people, just simply trying to live while being black, is being clouded by everything else and every other person's rights. You see, while we're still fighting for our rights and our lives in this very country that is heavily promoting alternative lifestyles. Now, one thing they use in the media, I'm going to bring this to the forefront now. There's a new teen comedy in which, teen shows are usually watched by very small children as well. Teen now means child. You see how they've changed all of the age demographics, whereas back in the day, in ancient times, you could have a boy king that was 8 years old, or a child 8 years old ruling a whole nation, because there was a certain mindset that was being taught back then. Whereas now the goal is to keep them in perpetual youth, to create all these different age groups. You have children, you have preteen, then you have teen, you have young adult, and then supposedly they cross over into adulthood somewhere between 18 and 21. But by the time they get to those ages, they're still in this perpetual state of youth because of everything that has been put into them. So by the time they get to those ages where they're supposed to be men and women, they're still thinking and acting like what they call children or adolescents. So the Western world and the Western culture has created a lot of confusion among the ages, keeping people in the youthful stage or age or a perpetual state of youth to where they don't know how to think clearly as adults. When you look at Martin Luther King at the age that he was pounding the pavement of civil rights, in his 20s, he was well into adulthood, thinking, acting, living, moving, and working like a man. But in many cases today, you take a 28-year-old black man, and they are doing nowhere near what Dr. Martin Luther King was doing at his age. Now, that's not to say that all young black men in their 20s or around that age, 28, are doing the exact same thing. I'm just saying, in general, what we are seeing are men who are not as focused as our men were back in the day on living and being men and being active in their communities. Okay, everything is more about entertainment right now. I got to get mine, you got to get yours. Okay, so focusing back on what I'm talking about in this video, there is this show that they are promoting for teens. It's a teen comedy in which they are going to be allowing children to watch it as well. You know how things happen in these households today where children are watching just about anything. It doesn't matter what the rating is. Parents are allowing their children to watch anything. And this is why their minds are so sexually active, right? Because of what they're being exposed to. Now, there's a show, it's called PEN15. Okay, PEN15. Now, I want you to take a very close look at the image on your screen. PEN15, that's the name of the show. What do you see? When you look at PEN15, and you can look at some of the comments under the video too that is posted for the trailer of this show on YouTube. A lot of people know exactly what they're doing and the direction that they're heading with this show. PEN15, looking very closely, it looks like the word penis. Yes, that is what your eyes is seeing, although they are calling it PEN15. Why are you calling the name of a kid's show PEN15 and you're making the logo or the letters and the numbers look like the word penis? There is no mistake in all of this, people. There is no mistake. All of this is by design. They are creating an environment that is overly sexed, a sexual environment to where anything goes. You can sleep with whomever you want. You can do whatever you want to do in the bed and out of the bed. You can have sex with inanimate objects such as trees and boats and the ground. If you fall in love with a dog, you can marry it and have sexual relationships with it. If you want to have sex with any type of animal, they're also promoting pedophilia, men with men, women with women, just all types of sexual fantasies being fulfilled through the minds of these people. And menage a trois, orgies. There was a guy who was talking about a male orgy thing that happens down in Atlanta quite frequently. I can't remember his channel. It was shared some time ago, and I was utterly disgusted by what I was hearing. But he was talking about black males who all come together They're supposed to be having some type of party, but it's a big male orgy to where all of these black males come together and they're just sexing each other every which way but loose. And so all of this stuff is starting to spill over into the minds of our children. It's being subtly and directly, overtly promoted in media, television media, movie media, music, books, sexual education in the classroom. They give it all of these fluffy titles and names, these slick names like PEN15, which looks just like penis, just to make it all seem innocent. And they do things that some would try to argue as innocent when it's a direct attack on the mind of your children. Your children are under attack and you don't even know it. This is why parents are supposed to be heavily involved in their children and in their time, what they're watching, what they're doing. Because the world it's never been innocent, but it's definitely not innocent now. And there's this promotion trying to make it seem like everything is so innocent. Oh, stop being so uptight. Stop thinking so much about this and stop reading too much into that. When a person begins to think like that and say, oh, you're reading too much into something, it's PEN15, it's not penis. This is a person who has drank the Kool-Aid of deception. And when you try to tell them that they strategically draw penises in Disney cartoons and they inject subliminal messages into movies and magazines and even reverse messages in music, when you explain that to a person and they just don't buy it, this is a person who is already drunk by the Kool-Aid of deception. And there's hardly anything that you could say to convince them otherwise. But if we get our eyes open, we will see the agenda for what it is. And you would begin to not only guard your own mind, heart, eyes, blocking and protecting your eye gate, but you would see how serious it is even for your children. Because they will tell you PG-13 on something, and then all of a sudden there's a scene that pops up and you say, why the heck did they put that in a children's movie? What is that doing in a cartoon? Or why are they putting this on a commercial or in a commercial during daytime hours when they know children are watching this particular show? More and more, there's this promotion of sexual anything, sexual encounters. They're saying that even we did a video where we're talking about sexual education. Even in that, they were trying to make it seem like children can have sex with whoever they want to, and no one should get on them about it. They were trying to make it seem as though if you desire to have sex with someone and you have a disease, you shouldn't have to tell them. I mean, these are things that are being promoted through the so-called educational system. And so it is very sad indeed that things have come to this, but when you understand prophecy, you understand that this is the direction that was spoken of, perilous times. Men shall be lovers of their own selves, promoters of all kinds of sexual deviance, lasciviousness, debauchery, all kinds of things being promoted and pushed not only on the older generations, but the children as well. We cannot walk around in the days as if everything is innocent. Even if you don't allow certain things in your home, just say you send your children out to play with friends. They're going to people's houses. You don't know what's going on in people's houses all the time. They're going to school. And many times in the school, things are happening that would blow your mind as a parent. You would say to yourself, how is this even allowed in the schools? You have even teachers that are predators preying on your young girls and your young men. Teachers getting pregnant by male students. Young girls having sexual relationships with male teachers. And not just that. There have even been cases reported where school officials, coaches or whatever, have been inviting children to different gatherings or things that they're having just to have gay relationships with them or teach them about those things. We told you about how they were going over into Africa some time ago, and they're probably still doing it now, and putting all of this technology candy in front of their eyes, saying to the girls, hey, here's a laptop. This is going to help you stay in touch with what's happening in the world. You'll have internet access. And by the way, it's okay if you want to kiss a girl, if you want to have a relationship with a girl. They're promoting this stuff heavily on the continent because the continent wasn't having this stuff at first. But with Western influence, more and more they are pushing and promoting this and giving them technology candy in exchange. You see, and some of the African countries are giving into it, not as a whole, but you have certain segments of the population that are giving into it. But for the most part, so far, what I've seen is a push back from Africa saying, no, we don't want that stuff. We don't want your Western filth in our countries, on our continent. And so I applaud them for that. But nonetheless, this poison is still spreading worldwide where they're trying to sexually deviate the minds of children. There have even been cases. There was one picture I saw that was so disgusting that I just wanted to puke and cry and just do all kinds of things. Just from the image, I could barely even look at it, but I was disgusted. I was angry. I was infuriated. So many different emotions flooded my mind when I saw this image. It was a white man who looked like he was in his 50s. Okay. And there was an image of a little girl in Africa who looked like she was about 9, maybe 10 years old. And this man was looked like he was tongue kissing her. And I was so infuriated. And the person who shared it, when you look under the comments, and this was some time ago, this is not even the kind of image that you want to see circulating. But at the same time, this image was brought to light, and it caused me and many others who saw it where the image was shared on Facebook and, Instagram, other places as well. It made us see just how far-reaching this disgusting behavior has gone, to the point where these men are going over there. And there are even videos talking about where they will take sex trips, not just to be with the indigenous women, but even the children. There was one case where a teenager here from the U.S. took his behind over there to Africa, and he was sexually molesting African boys at a school that he was supposed to be a missionary. And so, as you see, sexual deviance is being promoted worldwide, and they are targeting our children worldwide. Children are being targeted worldwide. Think about the increase in sex slaves. There was a white female teacher just recently busted for human trafficking. I'm telling you, this stuff is off the chain. While we're sitting back worried about what's going on with all these celebrities and R. Kelly, are you paying attention to what they're doing? They're after the children. They are after the children. What is your focus? Why are you more focused on this Hollywood nonsense, what these celebrities are doing? Although part of with R. Kelly, he's dealing with children too. But one part of that we've got to look at is a lot of these young women that dealt with R. Kelly. Most people would consider them victims, but many of them were doing this. I don't know the whole story about every last young woman he's dealt with, but many of them were there because they wanted to be. And some of their parents knew they were there. And so that's a whole other situation when you are dealing with something such as that versus someone coming from a European nation, going over there to Africa, preying on little small 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds, boys and girls, a vulnerable population. Even down in Haiti, they were doing similar things where so-called peacekeepers were going down there to have sexual rendezvous with not just the women, but children as well. So that's a whole other thing. Although it's sexual in nature, it's all disgusting, even with what R. Kelly is doing. But you have a whole different set of circumstances when you have young women who are impoverished in third world countries, some of them not even 10 years old, who are being coerced or being pulled into situations in exchange for, hey, we'll give you something to eat. We'll help your family with your poverty if you give these sexual favors. So it's really sad indeed. This is why we've got to protect our children, protect our populations, stop living in la la land and wonderland, focused on all of this celebrity garbage. I'm not saying that it's anything wrong with paying attention to it, but when that's where the majority of your focus is, to the point where people are slipping through the cracks, dealing with your children, dealing with our children worldwide, because we're focusing on other things. Our minds should be of the sort to where we can protect, focus, and see what's happening in regards to these things as well. But some people, they can't focus on their own life because they are so busy focused on what's happening in Beyonce's life, or this celebrity or that celebrity. What do they have going on? What's happening in their life? Oh, did you hear this? Did you hear what happened with such and such? R. Kelly, did you hear what happened with Beyonce or all of these other celebrities? So focused on those things. Cardi B and Kevin Hart. So focused on these things. Did you hear what's going on with Wendy Williams? My question is, do you know what's going on with our children? Do you know what they are doing, what they are planning for the children? Keep in mind and understand that the children are the future. And as we age, what type of generation is coming after us? What kind of youth are we raising? What type of torch are you passing along? And to sit back and think that is everybody else's job, we better catch a clue and we better catch it fast. Okay, family, with that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.